Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA, and of course nationwide over the airwaves of Sirius XM Radio, ESPN Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 729-3776. 866 ESPN. Look, I got a lot of stuff that I want to get into today. Kevin Durant's comments saying that basketball helped him avoid systemic oppression. I got that to get into. I got the greatness of LeBron James to get into. I got David Fizdale, the coach for the Memphis Grizzlies, getting fired after an 8-game loser streak this early in the season. I'll tell you how bogus that was and why. But I got to tell you something right now. Being in Philadelphia last night, watching the Cleveland Cavaliers go up against the Philadelphia 76ers, the Philadelphia 76ers team that shot like 3 of 23 from three-point range, that couldn't buy a three-point basket to save their life, that was ballyhooed as the up-and-coming team. You know, everybody trust the process, which is something I absolutely positively abhor to the point where I want to cuss anybody out that asks me the damn question. I got to tell you something right now. The greatness of LeBron James and what he has been putting on display, I got to tell y'all, I'm a little depressed by it. Now, I know that's a weird angle to take. My producers are looking at me with their raised eyebrows. Jonathan Winthrop looking at me. You know, Nuno Teixeira sticking his head over the windowsill like, what the hell are you talking about? Cat Passes like, hey, what's going on with him? Let me tell you something. Right now. I got to admit to you. It's kind of depressing me, and here's why. The Kristaps Porzingis in New York. The Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. The Lonzo Ball in L.A., which, by the way, he doesn't even deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as the two aforementioned individuals that are rookies this year. Let me tell you something. Well, Kristaps Porzingis is not a rookie, but you know what I'm saying. Young players. I'm desperate for somebody to show up and not literally wait at the altar of LeBron James, but be an individual that's young enough and stupid enough to get in his face and say, I'm coming for you, and actually mean it. There's no one. There's absolutely positively no one. In New York, as much as we may love Kristaps Porzingis, you still think he's the number one option? Still think that? You know better than that now, don't you? Now that they're on a 3-game losing streak, now that teams have been allowed to zero in on him, get all up in those long legs of his, undercut him and what have you, push him away from the block, force shots to be tougher. Suddenly don't look like the world beater he looked like for the first 11 games, does he? If you're in L.A., ladies and gentlemen, let me say this for the record. I'm no longer scared of Lonzo Ball being less than what we anticipated. I'm absolutely flat out petrified. 1 for 7 shooting, 1 for 3-point range. For a player in his first 20 games in the National Basketball Association, nobody has had a shooting percentage worse at this stage in their careers in 30 years. 30 years. That's how bad it has been for Lonzo Ball. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'll be damned if I'm not worried. I'm getting very, very petrified for this young man. And in the end, we've talked about Kyrie Irving. We've talked about James Harden, who's another league MVP candidate looking absolutely surreal. We've talked about Melo and Westbrook and Paul George in Oklahoma City. We've talked about the Golden State Warriors and the greatness of that collection of talent. But the subject hasn't been altered a bit when it comes to who we believe to be the best player in basketball. That's LeBron James. By the way, he looks about 15 pounds heavier. He's averaging 28, 8, and 8. He's shooting 48% from three-point range in the 8-game winning streak that Cleveland is presently under. By the way, it's an 8-game winning streak like I just said. And they don't even have Isaiah Thomas yet. They don't even have him. I don't know about y'all, but this is kind of demoralizing if you want competitive basketball, because I'm here to tell you something right now. If LeBron keeps this up, the only people that's going to be able to stop him is Golden State. There's nobody else that's going to be able to mess with LeBron James if this continues. What are you going to do? It's just that prolific. It's that great. It's that unstoppable. It's that awe-dropping. I wish I could get around it. I wish I could tell you that there was an answer. But I mean, damn. When you look at it right now, when you see the way that he's been performing, what is there to say? The man is built like a linebacker with a jump shot. And I wish I had an answer for you, but I'm worried there is none. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. That's one subject that I plan on getting into today. The other was that of Kevin Durant. Now, do we have that sound on Kevin Durant? Because I want the world to notice. We heard what Kevin Durant had to say. Talking about being a basketball player, talking about being a superstar, talking about being an African American in those positions. And essentially saying, if it wasn't for that, he would be treated less than what he actually is. You got a lot of people speaking up and perhaps making folks uncomfortable on purpose. That's what we're witnessing. That's what we're seeing. But the reason I bring that up is because I juxtapose that to Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree getting in trouble by getting themselves suspended for 2 games based off of their fight this past Sunday. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, they deserved the 2-game suspension. You heard it here first. They absolutely, positively deserved to be suspended for the 2 game. One rule for it. Not happy about it. I like both guys. They deserve to be suspended. You just cannot do what they did. You cannot act that way. What they did was bad for football. What they did was bad for the NFL. What they did was bad for themselves. Really bad. But there's something even worse that they did that I don't think you all have considered. I'll let that marinate on your brain before I tell you exactly what that is. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. I will revisit this topic and tell you how bad it is and why it's so bad that they did what they did in a minute. Stick around. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
not popular to say. It's not something that people want to tackle. But what you have to understand is that it's about being real. It's not about being altruistic all the time. It's not about talking about the way things should be or idealistic. Sometimes it's about being realistic and talk about the way things are. So I want to connect the dots for you. You have a situation where Colin Kaepernick takes a knee. He wants to protest racial oppression. He never was protesting against the American flag. He was saying that there are folks in this country getting away with not living up to what the flag is supposed to represent. Nevertheless, eventually the issue is hijacked, primarily by the President of the United States, who, as far as I'm concerned, has won the issue of the day because he's brought the kind of attention to it that serves his purpose and that of millions of Americans who disagreed with Colin Kaepernick. Ratings for the NFL have slid. Revenue has dipped. All of these things have happened to the point where the residue is obvious. Jerry Jones fighting Roger Goodell for his new contract. You know, that's just the most glaring piece of information that emanates from all of that. So when you're talking about that, why do you bring up Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree fighting? I'll tell you why. Because when they were talking, John, Kat, others, when they were talking, you heard the announcers, they called it a brawl. Okay? You know how people were looking at them, right? And how much money are you willing to bet that there were a plethora, meaning millions of folks out there who in all likelihood look nothing like them, don't come and don't share their backgrounds or anything like that? How much do you want to make a bet that those individuals looked at these guys and said, see how they're acting? And these are the people that have the audacity to protest our flag. That's how they're going to look at it. You and I both know that. It's not about right and wrong. Because this is what it is. We can sit up there and slice it any damn way we want to. That's what it comes down to. How you conduct yourself, how you present yourself, particularly in this day and age as a professional athlete, matters. Because something as simple as that had absolutely positively nothing to do with the protest. The fact that Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree were on that field fighting like that and allowing themselves to be depicted in a way that they were being depicted adds fodder and fuel to those aching to attach negative stereotypes, looking to use it as an impetus or as motivation to justify their ill feelings towards those NFL players who are protesting. You see, when Kevin Durant comes out and he says what he says, understand something about Kevin Durant. And this is a dude that has attacked me and has gotten on me because he didn't like something I said. I don't give a damn. Kevin Durant is a superstar. And he's a damn good young man. He represents our community and represents various communities in this country in an incredibly upstanding fashion. Don't get me started with how wonderful his mama is. She is a special lady in a very, very good way. And she has raised a phenomenal son. Just because he has attitude and gets a bit temperamental at times doesn't take away from the great person that he is. And by the way, the same goes for LeBron. But you see, when they speak on these issues, knowing that they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they talk about systemic oppression and things of that nature, it's valid coming out of their mouths. Because they don't turn around and cheat the paying customer with nonsense like we saw from Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree. And I'm in no way saying that Michael Crabtree and Aqib Talib did it on purpose. But the fact is they weren't conscientious enough to recognize that negative spat just between them wasn't just between them. It was in front of the world. And when you do something like that, you feed the negative stereotypes. Presentation matters. And I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to get on everybody about this. But I'm not going to apologize for attaching some blackness to it, because when you're not even the dominant minority any longer, there are odds stacked against you that are more significant than odds stacked against people from other communities, whether it would be the Hispanic community or the white community. It's not that it's right for the odds to be stacked against you. It's wrong, but it is reality. And as a result, you got to climb that ladder. As unfair as it is, it's real. So how you present yourself matters. How you act matters. How you behave matters. How you speak matters. How you dress matters. Whether you like it or not. Kevin Durant had every right to say what he said. Being black in America, it's hard. What would he be if he wasn't bouncing the basketball? That's all they look at him as. They don't think much of him. He had to come to that realization that without basketball, he wouldn't mean a damn thing to most people who claim to love him so much. He's right. But be very clear. He also has the right to say it because he knows how to act. There's a lot of dudes that want to stick out their chest and bloviate and speak and go off about stuff. They don't want to act right. You can't have it all. You got to capitulate to something. Don't give a damn who you are. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. There's a reason why you love LeBron and Kevin Durant and Chris Paul and Dwayne Wade and Kobe and others. It's not that they're flawless. It's not that folks don't make mistakes. It's that ultimately they present and conduct themselves in a manner that exudes professionalism and a responsibility to something greater and higher than themselves. When you really, really get to talk and speak out is when you do that. When you don't do that and you're more concerned about yourself, you need to shut the hell up and go someplace. Or in the case of Talib and Crabtree, sit down for a couple of games without pay until you recognize that it ain't just about you. Paul Finebaum, college football analyst extraordinaire, up next to talk to us about the imminent rankings coming out and about the debacle, the fiasco at Tennessee. That and more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
It's always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. He is labeled the mouth of the South by others other than me. Because as far as I'm concerned, he is not just a mouth of the South. He is a mouth on all things college football. He's a mouth on all things football because he knows all the players, figuratively and literally. I'm talking about the great Paul Finebaum, who's live with yours truly right now. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
It is always a pleasure, Stephen A. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Thank you. Let's get right into a couple of things. Before we get into these rankings that are coming out tonight and what have you, I got to talk to you about what happened at Tennessee, because what happened to Greg Schiano, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most egregious, awful things that I've ever seen. You don't want him to be the head coach at Tennessee. So you're a bunch of fans and a bunch of Twitter trolls, and you associate this man's name with child molestation, accusing him of being a part of a cover-up, and Tennessee backs out. Have you ever seen anything in all your years of college football that has been this egregious?
No, I haven't. And Stephen A., may turn out that Tennessee gets a better coach, and I'm sure people will say they did the right thing, but they didn't do the right thing because they made false allegations. I mean, you hear the president and others talk about fake news all the time. I mean, this wasn't even fake. I mean, fake usually is just something that's made up to help your cause. I mean, this was made up to destroy a man, and I don't know if he can get over that, because if you're the next school out there thinking about hiring Greg Schiano, you're looking at this and going, I don't want to go through this. And, you know, a lot of people were involved that didn't have any earthly idea what they were doing, including state representatives, politicians, and for a university. Stephen A., I mean, we both went to college, and you go to college to learn, to stand up for your principles. And if you make a decision to hire someone, stand by it.
Well, here's my question, Paul. Doesn't he, I mean, I know you're not a lawyer, but isn't it plausible that he may have grounds for a lawsuit against the university because of the irreparable harm they may have done to his career?
I mean, the only thing he probably does, first of all, he may have a breach of contract suit, and then he may have a defamation suit. It would be a difficult thing, but more than likely, I would love to take the case, because the University of Tennessee would probably write him a check in about 3 minutes to get him off their back. Because, I mean, they by caving in, they confirmed what everyone thought. And what was the most egregious part of it was the athletic director there, John Curry. I mean, after he backed out, Stephen A., then he issues a statement essentially saying that, you know, they vetted this man, they did due diligence. He quoted the Louis Freeh report that nothing was wrong. Then if that's the case, then why in the world did you back out?
Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. On a lesser note, UCLA has a new football coach. It's Chip Kelly. What do you think about him taking that job? What kind of job do you think he's going to do at UCLA? Talk to me about that for a second.
Stephen, he made the right decision. I mean, going to Florida would have been a mistake. And listen, I've met Chip Kelly a number of times sitting around the green room, so I don't want to act like, you know, we're golfing buddies. But he's an introvert. He's a great coach, but you know, to go to Florida, I mean, you got to be able to spend half the time schmoozing, and I don't think that's what Chip Kelly wants to do. He's an offensive genius. I think he wants to coach. UCLA is not a top 10 job, but it's in a great league that he knows and has dominated when he was at Oregon. It's in a good market, and I think he will be successful. The question then becomes, what is success at UCLA? Is it winning 8 or 9 games? Maybe every 5 years going to the Rose Bowl, or is it trying to stay on the same level as Southern Cal? I don't know how possible that is, but I do know Chip
that's
Kelly.
Where I'm going. That's where I'm going, yeah. Paul. I want to know, with Chip Kelly in Westwood, what's the possibility of Chip Kelly, you know, usurping USC in any way there?
Well, number one, he's a better coach than Helton at SC. I'm not that impressed with Coach Helton. I mean, he's with a lot of talent, including Sam Darnold. Even playing for the Pac-12 championship Friday night, I think he may have underperformed. I mean, Notre Dame, remember, just ran all over them. It was an embarrassment to Southern Cal. So I think that's doable. I really do. And UCLA has had pockets of success. They've had Troy Aikman. Josh Rosen was a top-flight quarterback. So I think Chip Kelly can attract that type of quarterback. They're pretty close to getting a commitment from one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So if they can keep that commitment firm, they'll be on their way. But I think if you're a hotshot quarterback in that area, I would rather play for Chip Kelly. I mean, you know, he is the best in the business at offensive play calling.
Talking about great Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's get into the rankings. Before we even do that, would you mind explaining to me what happened with your boys, Roll Tide, Alabama, who you pick? I mean, you've been talking about them being the number one team in the country. I mean, you're not alone. I'm guilty of it too. You know what? I don't mind them losing. I didn't expect them to get beat up the way they got beat up, Paul. What happened?
No, I mean, this was unbelievable. You know, Nick Saban has been out-coached a handful of times in his career, but, I mean, he was badly out-coached. And I just think in the end, you know, a couple of things went wrong. He was playing in a very hostile environment. It was a toxic place to try to win. But that's not enough. His defense is beaten up. And at the end of the day, Stephen, this isn't what anyone wants to hear, but Auburn is playing at a level right now at home that is probably better than anyone else in the country. And Alabama just could not answer that. And what got me wasn't the fact that they were not executing that well, but they were just inept. I mean, that series toward the end of the game when you know, the two botched snaps, I mean, that's inexcusable. And in fairness, Saban has not always looked great in that environment. He's had a couple of losses, not many. I mean, the guy loses once a year, so don't act like I'm writing him off. But it was a shocker, and if it cost them getting in the playoff, then they probably deserve not to be in, because you can't lay an egg like that on the biggest stage of the year in college football.
For me, Paul, I look at the rankings, and if it were me doing the rankings, if I was one of these 13 member committee members, here's what my ranking would be. I'd have Oklahoma at number 1. I'd have Clemson at number 2. I'd have Auburn now in the top 4, having beaten Georgia when they were number 1. Now Alabama when they were number 1 within the month. I would have them at number 3. And I would have undefeated Wisconsin at number 4, with Alabama at number 5 on the outside looking in, and Ohio State at number 6 on the outside looking in. Would you have any issue with that?
I wouldn't have much at all. I mean, I've gone back and forth this week between Oklahoma and Clemson. They're both pretty much on the same level. With Wisconsin, I didn't want to believe in early on, but I give them credit. I don't think they'll beat Ohio State, so that will open up a very interesting door. And I think in the 4 years of the college football playoff, Stephen A., we really haven't had what I would call great conversations. TCU versus Baylor the first year. Right. Ohio State got in. That didn't excite me. Last year, the Penn State-Ohio State conversation is actually the opposite of where we are now. Ohio State's in Penn State's position. What I can't buy about Ohio State, how do you lose by 31 at Iowa in the second half of the season? Maybe on the first day you recover, but that's in the middle to the third quarter of the season. That's inexcusable to me. And so I would, assuming that they beat Wisconsin, I would put Alabama in over Ohio State.
I would elaborate on it from this perspective. You not only lost on the road by 31 to Iowa, you got beat up at home by Oklahoma.
Yeah, you did. You look bad. On
the road and at home, you lost. Okay, that's what.
In both games in the second half, they were out of it. I mean, they weren't even. I mean, they were run over. Oklahoma's a good team. I'll give you one, but I'm not going to give you two.
Before I let you get on out of here, you questioned Miami and whether or not they were legit. Then they sit up there and they win a big game a few weeks ago against Notre Dame. And you put on the hurricane chain, and you're like, Miami is back. Looking like a middle-aged rap artist. That's how you look, Paul Finebaum. Okay, it was hilarious. All right, it was great. It was great television. And after we're ready, I wouldn't say that, sir. I'd be respectful.
You're generous to me.
No, not at all. No, please, you're a good-looking man. But here's the deal. Tell me this, Paul. And then they turn around and let you down with this loss.
Oh, yeah. Listen. I don't know why everyone says they're automatic by beating Clemson. I mean, they should be disqualified for losing to Pittsburgh. How do you lose to Pittsburgh?
Okay. I don't see
by
it.
The way,
I have no answer to that.
Hey, by the way, is there a 60-year-old rapper I can compare myself to?
No, there are none, Paul. But it's okay. It's okay. They should be trying to compare themselves to you. You're great. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Always a pleasure, Stephen.
Take it easy, buddy. The one and only Paul Finebaum right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. You heard Paul Finebaum break down college football's rankings. They're coming out tonight. You heard what I had to say. Oklahoma, Clemson, Auburn, then Wisconsin. Any problem with that? Get over it. We'll be talking about that. Crabtree and Talib. You heard what I had to say about that. LeBron James, the greatness of him, the Warriors, and so much more. Lonzo Ball. Good Lord. Good Lord. Oh, I'll just leave it at that for now. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Back to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get right to the phones at 866-729-3776, 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Fred. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Fred?
Stephen A., brother. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. Go ahead, man.
Hey, man, first time caller, long time listener, man. I love what you say 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. This one particular time I had to call in, brother. I disagree with you on the Crabtree, the fight.
What do you disagree about?
You kind of came off to me as saying you know, those two guys kind of solidify what certain people believed about us, or that fight kind of gave us a bad rap. I think the people who look at that fight and they make up their mind off of that fight, they're exactly what Trump said they were. They felt that way about us in the first place.
Okay, but see, here's where I have a problem with what you're saying. You come across as if I'm trying to say that those people are right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that even when they're wrong, you have to pay attention to it. If you owned a business, right, Fred, and I'm assuming that you don't. I apologize. It's not an insult or anything like that. If you own a business, I apologize. But if you're an owner of a business, right, and you're trying to sell a product, the customer could be trifling. But if you want their money, don't you have to appease to them?
Yes, sir.
And that's all I'm talking about. I'm saying that when you're in that kind of situation, certainly they thought that way anyway. Certainly they wanted an excuse to believe that about them. But as grown-ups, particularly African Americans, we tell youngsters all the time, don't feed the beast. Don't give them the ammunition that they're looking for, even when we know folks are looking for it. And I'm saying the same thing here. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying it's a reality that you have to deal with, and you can't ignore it. And I think those two players were paying no attention to it whatsoever, and that was my issue.
I agree 100%, man. And I guess what the point I'm trying to make is you're not necessarily giving those people ammunition because they got all the ammunition they need already. They're going to feel how they're going to feel. If those boys went out there and said a prayer together, they're going to ignore that, and they're going to ignore the 99% of the time that these brothers go out there and treat themselves like absolute professionals in that one instant. I mean, we are talking about football, the most violent sport in the world.
That's true, but here's my point to you. Because football is the most violent sport in the world, and you have a license to exact and exercise the violence against another human being, and it's completely within the rules. It's a gladiator sport. When you go beyond the pale, even in that venue, what does that say about you?
Emotions, man.
There we go. And what I'm saying to you, is that you and I both can understand it, but we can't condone it if we're really in search of a better place, because the reality is that there's more than enough violence within the rules that there's no excuse for you to go beyond them. To go beyond them, even when you already have a license to be more violent than the average Joe or citizen out there, speaks to an absence of control that you have. That's not an imagery that you want to give off.
I agree 100%, Stephen. I'll let you go on this, man. You're 100% right. I just don't. If somebody took that like I did, which I kind of filtered it my own way, to think that we need to try to appease to people so they don't look at us a certain way. And my thought on that is, people who are going to look at you that way over an event like that already look at you.
That's fair. That's fair. My response is, they're still the paying customer, and you want their money. So that's a reality you have to deal with, unless you had your own and you didn't need their money. That's all I'm saying. Fred, thank you for the call, my brother, and happy holidays to you in case I don't hear from you again. Really appreciate it. Kennedy, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A. Smith, like the last gentleman said, first-time caller, long-time fan. And like you said, 95% of the time, I'm agreeing with you, and 5% I'm not. This time, I am in agreement with you. And, man, you kind of took the words out of me. I wish I would give it a ding in first, because what you ended with is basically where I was going to attack this from. First and foremost, I am a professional. I've been in the Army for 17 years. I'm an officer.
You know what, Kennedy? Do me a favor. I'm going to interrupt you because your signal is really, really bad, and I want to hear what you have to say. So we're going to go to a hard break in a little bit. I want you to hold on and make sure your signal's clear so we can understand what you're saying, because we can't understand that right now. All right, my man, thank you so much. Let's go to Rob in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Rob, real quick.
Just a few things, Stephen A. The Knicks are losing games because they got deplorable defense and too many turnovers.
All right.
They got to fix that. And I hear my fellow New Yorkers.
Rob, you only got 45 seconds, so just go ahead and make your point real quick. Go ahead.
I hear them talk about LeBron James. I take LeBron James here. He's the king. The Knicks ain't been to a final since 1999.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't won a chip since 1973. Mm-hmm. The last playoff appearance was a first-round 2013 bust. Come on, why would you not want a man that's been to 9 finals and won 3? We ain't been to a final since 99. And as far as Lonzo Ball, I don't know. Lonzo Ball, look, Magic Johnson picked Lonzo Ball, and I know you dissed me the last time I said that. He gave the people what they wanted, but if Magic would have took Tatum, no one in L.A. would even be thinking about Lonzo Ball.
You're probably right about that right now, Rob. This is a good time to say that. Nobody can dispute you or refute what you're saying right now. You got me there. 866-729-ESPN, 866-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 up next. More NBA and NFL action to get into. Don't touch that dial. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you for the next hour over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM. Channel 80, number to call up as always is 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. I'm distracted. Please forgive me for being distracted by news. I'm watching the news channels right now. North Korea has just fired a ballistic missile. 74-day reprieve from testing their missiles. They launched one just a few minutes ago. Let me get back to sports. I'll just leave it at that. Something happened yesterday in the National Basketball Association that really, really, really got on my nerves. I can't put into words how ticked off I am about this. It is necessary for me to say this. David Fizdale, head coach for the Memphis Grizzlies, was fired. Team has been struggling, has lost 8 straight. I think their record was like, 7-11 or 8-11, something along those lines. He was fired. He got screwed. We can slice it any way we want to. He got screwed. We can slice it any way we want. The man got screwed over. Took him to the playoffs last year. Was considered a very good young coach. The Greg Popoviches of the world and others spoke up on his behalf. Was an assistant in Miami for years. LeBron James tweeted about him being a fall guy. Dwayne Wade wanted an investigation, an explanation. They played for him as players. He was an assistant coach in Miami when they won those 2 rings, when they went to 4 straight NBA finals. He got screwed. There is no reason this man should have lost his job. None. Now, according to my sources and Adrian Wojnarowski, our NBA insider extraordinaire, also reported this. There was beef between him and Marc Gasol. It's been going on for quite some time. And the other day when David Fizdale elected to bench Marc Gasol for the 4th quarter in a loss because they were down by about 19 points and the reserve brought them back to within 5, and David Fizdale wanted to leave them back in the game, and he didn't want Marc Gasol, back in the game. Marc Gasol was livid. He was professional in what he said, but he made it very, very clear he was not happy. According to my sources, he made that very, very clear to management. Management made the call to let David Fizdale go because they hadn't been getting along. I know Marc Gasol could play. Marc Gasol ain't LeBron James. Marc Gasol ain't Kobe in his prime. Or Shaq in his prime. Marc Gasol are not these people. Marc Gasol is not Steph Curry. Marc Gasol is not Russell Westbrook. He's not these people. You're going to get rid of this man? Really? Really? I'm sick to my stomach. I really, really am. And the owner for the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, listen, GM Chris Wallace, I haven't seen him in a long time, but he's a good man. And I'm certainly not going to excoriate him, but I got to tell you, it's just amazing to me that this guy, this owner, would make this call, allow this call to be made, if not flat out made it himself. It really, really, really bothers me. Robert Perra. So Lionel Hollins is there. After taking them to the Western Conference Finals and winning 56 games, you get rid of him. Then Dave Yeager's there, having some success. You get rid of him. And now David Fizdale just took him to the playoffs. And, you're going to get rid of him less than 20 games into the season because you're on some losing streak. Now, J.B. Bickerstaff, who did a relatively decent job as the interim coach in Houston after Kevin McHale got fired, finds himself in a similar situation now in Memphis. But it's still bogus. Absolutely, positively bogus. If I'm anybody, I'm really, really questioning whether or not I'd want that Memphis job. Marc Gasol? I understand he could play. He's no scrub. He's been to a few All-Star games. I get all that. But Marc Gasol could get you fired. How much security can you have? Marc Gasol. You got to be kidding me. What a damn shame. David Fizdale lands someplace else. But the man is special. Man's a hell of a young coach. He got screwed over. Plain and simple. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Andre in Newark. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yes, how you doing, Stephen A?
I'm all right. Talk to me.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, would you consider Lonzo Ball a bust now?
A bust?
Yes.
No, I just want to hold out on that, man. He's a kid. His first 20 games in the NBA. I don't want to do that to him. I will tell you, I am petrified that he's going to be. Mm-hmm. I'm scared, but I'm rooting for him, and I'm prayerful that it won't end up that way because I want him to succeed and I want Magic to succeed. But I got to tell you right now, Lonzo Ball, listen, I you know what? I don't know who's can I say this? No, John, can I say this? I don't know who's worse. Lonzo Ball or Ntilikina? Frank Ntilikina for the Knicks. I mean, you talk about a guy that just doesn't give me anything. Ntilikina doesn't give me anything. I really don't know why he's on the court. And I'm not saying he can't defend. I'm not saying he doesn't serve any purpose. But you talk about a guy that's just blah, that just has, to me, zero impact. It's him. And with Lonzo, I'm just seeing a 1 for 7 shooting, 1 for 6 from three-point range, 23% three-point shooting, 30% shooting from the field. In 30 years, no NBA player in their first 20 games of their careers, Andre, has shot worse than Lonzo Ball. That's just bad, bro. That's just bad, and it's making Magic Johnson look very bad. I sincerely hope Lonzo gets it together because I really genuinely like the kid. I'm not rooting. First of all, I wouldn't root against any of them anyway, but I'm especially not rooting against him. But I am very, very petrified right now, Andre, based on what I'm seeing from his game.
Okay, and one more question. Do you think the Cavs, I know that Boston been on the little streak or whatever, but do you think the Boston Celtics have enough to take on LeBron, especially how he's playing now?
No. I think that LeBron looks unreal. I think that when Isaiah Thomas comes back, it's going to be even worse. And I also think that LeBron just looks massive. LeBron just, I mean, he looks like a linebacker playing against Pop Warner kids. That's how big he looks compared to these guys out on the court. They can't mess with him, man.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate
Thank you.
Man.
Thank you. Let's take care. Let's go back to Kennedy. You're live with Stephen A. Kennedy. Hopefully your signal's better now. What's up?
Hopefully, is it good? Can you
yes,
hear me well?
Yes, it is. It's better, much better. Go ahead.
Okay. What I wanted to say is, first and foremost, I am a fan. Always been a fan. It's my first time calling.
Thank you.
I've been in the Army for 17 years, and I'm an officer, and I consider myself to be a professional. And as an African American, when I saw that fight between those two guys that I will not name, it hurt me. And I also said it at that very moment. I said it set us back. And I heard what the other gentleman talked about, and what he made some valid points about the perception about us is already out there, and that's not going to change the narrative. But you have a platform. And we are in a time right now where, you know, the example has already been made with Kaepernick. We know he's been blackmailed. We know, not blackmailed, but we know he's been blackballed in the league.
Right.
But we have an opportunity to stand together and continue to, you know, unite and bring forth the message that he's been trying to bring forth for the past year and so. And I understand emotions get involved when things happen on the field. And like you said, you took the words out of my mouth, because that's what you have a license. Football is a competitive sport. Oh, I know they got to throw you the ball, or I know you got to set up a block. Next time you come, I'm coming after you. But to go through blows and then to go after each other for more blows and to continue to go after each other, helmets off, and you're swinging punches, and that is just nasty. That was embarrassing. They should be embarrassed. I know you said the 2 games was enough, man. I wouldn't be mad at the league suspending them for the remainder of the season. And I understand sometimes some people could say that's going too far, but let me tell you right now, man, when soldiers get in trouble or they do something, their careers are pretty much over. Their pay is being taken away without the worry about their bills and their family.
Let me interrupt you, Kennedy. I get your point, and I appreciate your passion, but it's important that you understand that these are games that's being played, whereas you're soldiers defending our country and putting your life on the line. So the mistakes that you make can cost you and others their actual lives. Whereas in the sport of football, when you're fighting on a football field, it's a pretty slim to none chance that that's not going to happen. That's the difference. So I understand where you're coming from, but to put things in its proper perspective, I don't think it's right to compare football players to soldiers like yourself, because you live in 2 different worlds.
And I do agree with that. It's just when you look at it from a professional standpoint, and this happens even when you're not in combat. Soldiers, you know, when they jack up, whether it's like how you like to say, smoke the weed.
That's right. I got to interrupt you because we got to get ready to go. I got to go to a hard break, but I appreciate the call, man, and I definitely appreciate your passion, and I thank you for your service to our country. I truly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. 866-729-ESPN, 866-SAY-ESPN. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
To the calls right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's go to Chad in Rockland. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Chad? Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing? I just want to know regarding the Knicks.
if David Fizdale, I know he just got released, and I know the Knicks are moving really well with Hornacek, but if David Fizdale is available in the offseason, do you go after him?
I think him or Mark Jackson. Why not Mark Jackson?
I love Mark Jackson. I love him, but
New York ties. See, the problem is New York Knicks don't need just basketball. You need somebody with New York ties that people have faith in when the coach speaks every night and he says, believe in us, and he's holding people accountable and all of those different things. I'm not saying it has to be that way, but because of how dysfunctional the Knicks franchise has been for so long, I think it's important to go that route. That's just where I'm at with it.
I get you. I definitely understand you. And also just want to say I've been a Knicks fan since I was in the womb, and it warms my heart to see them doing well, especially with the unicorn up front.
Well, you're saying they're doing well. They've lost 3 straight. Lord knows how many more they're going to lose. They have, listen, they're getting a bit exposed now that teams are getting their legs under them, and they understand what they're dealing with now. It's a little bit different now, bro. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. It just
lost to Portland last night.
Competitive.
Portland ain't that good of a team. Portland was up 20. They went on a 14-0 run to try to close the gap, but they were down 20 on Portland. Portland, all right, but they shouldn't be up 20 on the Knicks. Sorry. I don't believe it. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Barron. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Barron?
Hey, Stephen. First of all, huge fan. Wanted to ask you in regards to that Greg Schiano scandal. I missed your whatever the podcast when you talked about it. It's called Work. But do you know exactly what he knew in regards to the?
None of us do. None of us do. Here's what happened. A graduate assistant by the name of Mike McQuarrie said in a deposition that an assistant coach, Tom Bradley, told him that Greg Schiano may have known something about what Sandusky was doing. Greg Schiano emphatically denied it. Tom Bradley denied knowing anything or saying anything of such a thing, of such a nature. And that is that. We know
One
nothing.
last question. Does that hurt him from, again, getting a big-time
Hell yes.
job?
Hell yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think he was going to get a big-time college job anyway. Tennessee is mid-level, not mid-major, but mid-level. But the point is, I don't think it was going to help him get a big-time job anyway. But I will tell you this. It definitely ruined it now. If I was him, I would be considering a lawsuit. I'd probably sue Tennessee. We signed an agreement that I was going to come on board and you reneged. No way. No way. I would probably sue. Because think about it. If Tennessee hadn't promised him the job, right?
Right.
Would we be talking about Schiano and all of this right now?
No.
We wouldn't be even talking about it. Now this man's name is associated with child molestation just because people didn't want him to get the job. How fair is that, man?
No, it's not.
It's criminal. Absolutely criminal. Appreciate the call. Larry, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of what that guy just said, I just want to know what the hell is going on in Tennessee. At the end of the day, I think what's happening, what we're seeing is management not necessarily making decisions based off of what is best for that particular program. We're seeing this with Tennessee. We're seeing this what happened with the Memphis Grizzlies. And I just think it's crazy that both of these are coming out of the same state where you see two drastic coaching changes where, Schiano.
Well, I wouldn't call Butch Jones a drastic coaching change, but I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? It's just, to me, I feel, especially with the Schiano situation, what coach is going to really want that job now? First of all, you're in one of the most competitive conferences in the SEC. Every year your measuring stick is Nick Saban. So you have to think now, if the social media has the ability to determine your job security, and you're the athletic director, and you're in your mind, you're like, all right, I'm making decisions based off of what's best for my program. You can be easily swayed by social media. What reputable coaches want to go there?
Exactly. That's exactly the problem that they have. Now, I appreciate the call, Larry. Thank you so much. 866-SAY-ESPN. Back with your calls and more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Minutes past hour number 2 right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get back to the calls at 866-729-ESPN, 866-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to James in Manhattan. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, James?
Good afternoon and blessings to you, sir.
Thank you.
I've been a Knicks fan since 1979. I've seen good teams and terrible teams and almost championship teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, because I do respect your opinion. This is my first time getting through, but I've been listening to you for years. How good do you think Frank Ntilikina can be? Do you think he can be a good to very good point guard? And do you think this Knicks team can possibly squeak into the playoffs?
What I can tell you about Frank Ntilikina is that he does not move me at all. He's only averaging about 19 minutes a game. He's averaging about 4.7 points per game. I'm just not impressed with him at all. He hasn't been able to shoot. He's almost got Lonzo Ball numbers, 34% from the field, 25% from three-point range. He just seems so pedestrian, so ordinary. He can play defense, don't get me wrong, but there's no wow factor with him at all. And I guess for me, when you're a top 10 pick, when I see Dennis Smith Jr. picked after you, a Malik Monk picked after you, a Donovan Mitchell in Utah picked after you, I'm upset.
No, I understand, and I feel you. And I think he also lacks good basketball instincts. He makes some plays.
I don't know about that. I think it's too soon. I think it's too soon to gauge that. But the same things I've said about Lonzo Ball: suspect shot, lack of aggression offensively. That's Ntilikina.
And what do you think about the Knicks?
They've lost 3 in a row. I'm not surprised. I anticipated that it would happen, but I'm just not overly impressed. They lost at Atlanta after having a lead. They had like a 19-point lead at Houston, lost that game, and then last night they were down 20, losing to Portland. To me, Miami and Orlando are next at the Garden. I don't think that they'll win both of those games. So I'm kind of down about it. I expected more from them. I'm not happy that I haven't seen more. I think Porzingis is an elite number 2 option. He is not a number 1 option. He is not a number 1 option. And I think all those things don't serve the Knicks well.
Fans, and I think their future is very bright. So at least we have that to look forward to.
Gotcha. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Dominic, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A., how you doing, man?
I'm good. Talk to me.
Now, see, when you talk about David Fizdale and you talk about the fight that happened in Oakland and Crabtree and Talib, it just shows that the African American margin for error in sports is so small, man. And
absolutely,
it's really disappointing to see and disappointing to be a part of it.
But before you go any further, let's be clear. It's hard to accuse Memphis of that because they did the same thing to Dave Yeager too. Even though he lasted a few years, remember they screwed over Lionel Hollins after he had been there for years. But then they screwed over Dave Yeager.
Right.
So it's hard.
And just for them to be bashing, Crabtree and the key to leave, and we know that I heard your point earlier saying that the sport is violent in and of itself, but you have hockey who are, that's just as violent a sport if you ask me. They're able to smash each other in the walls and they running in, even though they're on skates, but they're going in each other full speed without traction, and they fight all the time. They're able to punch each other in the face and do all that stuff, even though that's allowed in the sport. That's permitted for a certain amount of time. And
what are you talking about? Not what we saw with Talib and Crabtree Sunday.
I've seen the game. I don't watch hockey, but I saw it on SportsCenter. I couldn't even tell you who won this game. There were times where the puck dropped, and they all dropped their gloves, and everybody on the rink started to fight. Everybody started to fight. Do you remember that?
I do not remember. But the point is that it shouldn't have happened. It can't happen, and I think they deserve the suspension. But I got to go. I appreciate the call, Dominic. Thanks a lot. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. Good afternoon.
I'm all right.
I just wanted to touch on the comment you made. I didn't get a chance to hear Kevin Durant's quote, but I'm going to just go ahead and touch on the comments you made regarding being African-American male myself, the way we dress, the way we speak, the way we go about our day is under a different microscope because obviously we are the minority, and it's just unfortunate because that's the world we live in. And with that being said, it's tough because I was always told by my mom, if you may not like a job, but you go out there, you do the best you can because you can't, not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the people after you. If you're out there, you're not handling your business, you're doing a bad job, you think they're going to hire another person that may look like you when it's already a few of you guys to begin with. So that's just something that I've always been taught, and it's been embedded in my mind, and it's just the way I go about my day and my business.
No,
so
absolutely.
I don't know what do you have to say regarding that.
You're absolutely right about that. That's exactly the approach you're supposed to have. It's supposed to be you're supposed to be transcendent. You're supposed to be thinking about something more than just yourself. And not enough of these guys are doing that. Not when you see the kind of stuff that you saw with Crabtree and Talib. Got yourself suspended. In the midst of these protests, you're going to let something like this happen? To a lesser degree, same thing with A.J. Green and Jalen Ramsey. At that particular moment in time, you really going to do that? You don't understand the kind of microscope you're under?
Right. Yeah, it's just unfortunate. But that's all I want to touch on, Stephen.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Rico, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, how's it going? Stephen A., big fan, man. Big fan.
Thank you, bro. Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to comment on the Greg Schiano incident. I think the fact that he's not a proven coach, pretty mediocre record, another Northeast Coast coach that we took, I just don't think the Tennessee fans just wanted that. As far as the child molestation,
yeah, but that's not the issue. The issue is where they were willing to go just to keep him from getting the job.
Just in this day of time where child molestation, rape is kind of high alert right now. I think that just kind of hurt his chances. It's debatable whether he was associated with it or not. But all in all, as a full package, I just don't think he was suitable for UT, and I think that's what drove him out. And also, I'm not really sure if he's even able to sue because not all four members who are supposed to sign that can't remember the actual name of the contract, but the Board of Trustees signs it, the AD, the coach that is about to come into the program, and I'm pretty sure the chancellor has to sign it, and I'm pretty sure only 3 at the time signed it. So I don't think he'll be able to sue.
We'll find out. We'll definitely find out. Appreciate the call, Rico. Thank you. Brian and Cali, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Brian.
You know what? Been watching the Steelers since I was 5 years old, and Big Ben Roethlisberger has been always the poster child for the guy that gets his butt kicked constantly. Plays better when he's getting his butt kicked. But I wanted to give a special thank you to you because somebody had to light a fire underneath this guy's you-know-what.
That's right.
To get him to go, you know what? You're losing your pride. Your pride is the number one thing that most athletes at this caliber are running on. And for some reason, he lost his. And I'm telling you what, since the comment you made that told him, hey, everybody is watching the number one spot, which is you.
That's right.
You got to represent this Pittsburgh Steelers organization. 3 coaches in the franchise history. I mean, the Patriots, Green Bay, those 3 franchises are supposed to stand for something.
Hey, listen, man, I will never take back what I said. At the particular moment in time that I said what I said when I said go to hell home, it was because he talked about retiring after losing the AFC Championship game. He talked about it again over the summer. And then after they lost 30-9 in Jacksonville and he threw 5 interceptions, he said, maybe I don't have it anymore. Maybe I need to just step away. And I'm like, I don't need that type of attitude from him. You're a two-time champion and a future Hall of Famer. With Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant and Jesse James and Eli Rogers and Juju Smith-Schuster and all of these boys with a good offensive line. There ain't no damn excuses. What the hell is this? I did not want to hear that from him. And I stand by it. And I don't regret it one bit, Brian. And you see how they try to change the narrative, where I sat up there. Did you see him talking to the media just the other day, 5 weeks after I made the comment, talking about, people saying that I don't have, I'm not working hard. I don't want to sacrifice. I never said that, Brian. I said, based on your words and how you've looked, it's like you don't want to play no more. We can't afford to have that. And I stand by it, Brian. That's exactly how I felt at that particular moment in time. And at that particular moment in time, if it had happened again, I'd say it again. I have no regrets, Brian.
It's true. You can't mess with the truth. 9 times out of 10, people are scared to death of something like that. But you know what? It's needed. When the truth is the truth, you throw it out there. Imagine the offensive linemen that are sitting there blocking their you-know-what off for somebody that doesn't really care as much, and maybe I ain't got it. Look at those offensive linemen in the face after they're getting their butts kicked, and they're protecting you, and you're going to be like, maybe I don't got it no more. So much appreciated on this end. I appreciate the awakening comments and the stones it took to say it. So mad props.
Thanks a lot, my man. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. 866-729-ESPN, 866-SAY-ESPN. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Eric, you're live with Stephen A. real quick. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., listen, so the Redskins play the Cowboys this Thursday night, but I want you to put your GM hat on for me and let me know if you think that Kirk Cousins, I know he's a franchise quarterback, but would
I don't think he is. He's very good. He just never wins when it counts.
But would you give him the Andrew Luck deal, 5 years, $120 million plus?
No. I would not give Kirk Cousins 5 years, 120-something million. I just couldn't do it. But then again, I'm not the Redskins, and the Redskins might be forced in a different type of situation. So you might have a point there. I got to run, buddy. Thank you. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Mike from Pittsburgh. Outstanding. You make me want to shout. Hey, I appreciate your views in paragraph form. People don't listen to you, all the sentences. I take it Pittsburgh 5 weeks ago and Pittsburgh today. Appreciate and respect your views. I did want to make a comment on the Bronco and Raider fiasco.
Yes, sir.
56 years old. I remember back in the day where brothers didn't screw over brothers in the city, in the workplace, or in sports. Times sure have changed, haven't they?
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think that the money has individualized a lot of people, and they speak about coming together collectively, but it's not just brothers, it's not just black folks, it's all of us. As a society, we get caught up in us. We get caught up in now. We get caught up in what the great John Chaney, former basketball coach at Temple, always told me was the microwave society. Instant gratification, and it's about self. And on far too many occasions, we're not transcendent individuals who think beyond ourselves for the betterment of the whole. This is why I encourage people to listen to everyone from the Joe Madisons to the Karen Hunters and others. No matter what your political views are, anybody that's about something. Even, listen, I'm not a conservative, but I listen to Mark Levin every chance I get. The great one. I'm a fan of his radio show. And Sean Hannity is crazy. He's nuts. But I've known him for years, and I like him, even though I know he can be crazy. I know that whether it's on the left with the two that I mentioned in Madison or Karen Hunter, or the right with Hannity and Mark Levin, I know that they're individuals who devoutly believe what they believe. And all you could do is respect it and try to find the truth wherever that may be. And that's what you do. And that's all you can do, Mike, and move forward with the kind of love in your heart, the kindness in your heart, and the consciousness that you need to have in order to contribute to making society better for us all. That's all you can do.
Stuff.
All right? Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Daryl in Cali. You're live with Stephen A. What's up? Daryl. Daryl, are you there? Mike in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Hey, Stephen. Well, the Bulls right now, they got a good pick in Lowry. Zach LaVine's coming back, and Chris Dunn looks like a top 5 pick, in addition to the top 3 pick that they're going to get this year, and they got a huge cap room. Where do you see the Bulls in the future?
I think the Bulls will get better. I just don't think Hoiberg's the right coach for the job. I think Hoiberg is made for college. I think he should be back at Iowa. I don't think that he, Iowa State, whichever one he was at, I don't think that he was made for the NBA. I think that he was made for college. Very nice man, knowledgeable about the game of basketball, but I think it takes a little something extra to coach multimillionaire athletes, and I don't think that's his forte. He's better suited for college. I think they need to get a guy made for the NBA. That's just what I believe. I appreciate the call. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. real quick. Got to run. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Stephen. I'm a huge fan of everything you have to say.
Thank you.
Real quickly, I want to talk about Hakeem Talib and Crabtree. Let's think about the psychology behind this.
Mm-hmm.
How NHL players are allowed to fight. Now, I'm a white man, so I'm going to sound like I'm going to be basically.
I just need to rush you because you only got 45 seconds. So go ahead, hurry up, real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to be going against the grain. So the reason why people have a problem with hockey players fighting is because basically they're white. And when they see two black men fighting, it perpetuates the stereotype. And it's a shame that it has to be like that, but people don't want to accept that. And
well,
that's all I want to say.
I applaud your courage for admitting something like that. I applaud your courage for admitting that. You didn't have to do that. And that just shows that your conscience is in the right place. And it shows that when you want truth and when you want fairness and things of that nature, you don't always have to look in one direction. It comes in all colors, shapes, and sizes.